I'm not saying that the government created Hurricane Helene. What I am saying is that the government has been manipulating the weather since 1947. What first caught my attention with Helene was the shift in the storm's projected path. One day it looked like it would hit my town. The next day it had shifted east. I then noticed an odd flight path of NOAA 42, the aircraft being flown, a Lockheed Martin Orion P-3. This prompted me to look at previous uses for the P-3, where I discovered that they were used in the 1960s to manipulate Hurricane Camille in a, quote, weather war on Cuba. Now I know this sounds out there, but as we begin to see more and more the terrible things our government has done in the past, is it really so far-fetched? Here are the projections from the 23rd of September. A large spread traveling the Alabama-Georgia line and ending up in Illinois. On the 24th, projections shift slightly east, and the storm is projected to finish in Indiana. On the morning of the 25th, the path shifts back west and shows to be finishing in western Kentucky. That evening, a P-3 conducts a 6-hour operation inside the developing storm. The next morning, on the 26th, the path shows to have shifted slightly east again, now finishing in northwestern Tennessee. The evening of the 26th, the same P-3 conducts operations throughout Hurricane Helene as it makes landfall, and the storm's actual path shifts further east, finishing in northeastern Tennessee. What would the government's motivations possibly be to modify a storm? That I don't know, but I do.
So basically, y'all would have to see the screen where it was showing like that P-6 plane helping to control the storm, right? But I want to say this. You know, dudes like Alex Jones, I got blogs from like 10 years ago where we all talking about the HAARP. And that's old news. The HAARP is old news. It ain't nothing super esoteric these days. If you don't know, you just ain't, you know, you ain't in the loop. Because a billion dudes done talked about it already. But I want to say this. So there's a bunch of towns, black towns, that was submerged underwater years ago, many years ago. I want to name a few of them for y'all, right? You had a town called Cowaliga. It was submerged under Lake Martin. You had a town called Rivington, a black town. These are black towns. Rivington is submerged under the Pickwick Landing Dam. You have a town called Millerton. That's a town in California that was flooded after the construction of the Frank Dam in the 1940s. Lexington, a town in California that was submerged under the Lexington Reservoir. Alma, a town in California that is submerged under the Lexington Reservoir. Several gold rush towns submerged under Folsom Lake in California. Now, we just talking about black towns in California. Remember, I told y'all in the past, when I did my interview on Gully TV, the black people, the black indigenous, not Native Americans, the black indigenous people used to rule California, and they was called the ancient Khalifians. And their queen was called Queen Khalifa. She has a whole nother name, but people know her as Queen Khalifa. And she was, you know, you had a black indigenous tribe of people called the Khalifians, right? So it was mad black prominent towns and all that in California, and they flooded them. Colonizers flooded them. There's another town in Oscarville, Georgia. It was a black community that was flooded. It was a black community that was flooded to create Lake Lanier in the 1950s, or Lanier, whatever. The town had a church, school, and many homes. Historians say that many of the community structures, including unmarked graves, were not removed. Other towns that were submerged underwater is the Rivington, right? I'm gonna show you what some of these other ones is at. Cowaliga is in Alabama. Oscarville is in Georgia. Vanport is in Oregon. Susanna Village is in Alabama, and Ferguson Town is in South Carolina. These are all prominent black towns, and they are submerged underwater. There's lakes covering them. But if you go to these lakes and all that, them towns are still under there. People is dead under there. Graveyards is under there. All type of shit, right? All these towns that is buried underwater right now in current day age, and this is the 1940s, the 50s and stuff. This gives me further belief that the Tartarians existed. And the Tartarians, their civilization was destroyed, and some of it was submerged underwater, and etc. Also, the ancient Tartarians, and they say, some theologians, some historians say the Tartarians was black. Some historians say the Tartarians was a mixed group of people. It was black, Caucasians, and etc. But I know one thing: they dwelled on, they lived off of electrical currents and stuff like that. But weather warfare, right? We dealing with people that we dealing with people that destroy water. They destroy air. They destroy trees, fish, fruits, vegetables. They destroy civilizations. They burn down libraries when they conquer empires or civilizations that have rich history. They burn all the books down, or they keep what books they want for themselves, and then they get rid of the rest of the books. You know what I'm saying? And they hoard all the gold and the resources and stuff like that, right? I think the reason why they're doing this to Florida and to North Carolina, which I think they're going to do to both North and South Carolina, because we already know Bill Gates owns most of the farmland, right? And we know that America's fallen. This place is fallen, right? America is in sovereignty debt. And I said this in the past too. Sovereignty debt is when I no longer can pay you money or give you gold or currency. Now I got to give you my hat, my hoodie. Oh, I got a good antique dresser in my house, and take that. Or I got a Basquiat paint, and take that. So sovereignty debt is when you start selling buildings, the Empire State Building, Las Vegas, right? Because people still think the mafia fully owns Las Vegas. They might be allowed to continue to be the managers of Las Vegas, but if I'm not mistaken, Japan owns Las Vegas. If not Japan, it's China. But there's places in America that's owned by foreign entities. The Empire State Building, I think the Japanese own the Empire State Building too. Hollywood, we know the Ashkenazis own Hollywood. America's in sovereignty debt. They owe a lot of money to a lot of people. So what I think the colonizers is trying to do is just like sink the whole country before we get invaded. You know what I'm saying? They're going to sink the whole country before we get invaded by Russia, China, because World War III is inevitable, right? World War III is inevitable. Iran said, you keep playing with us, we're going to send nukes. Russia said, you keep playing with us, we're going to send nukes. So everybody keeps saying, oh, nukes is a myth, nukes is a myth. I don't think Japan feels nukes is a myth, because, they was having children with 2 heads, and, children with 3 and 4 arms, and children with 9 fingers and all type of wild shit. So I don't know, whatever America dropped over there, that shit tarnished them. That shit had cooked a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? So, as Americans and as people who is residents of this prison camp, residents of this industrial complex, right? We got to get ready to avoid. We got to stay ready to avoid getting ready, right? The Transformer threw me off. They everywhere. They all over the earth. The Transformer threw me off a little bit, but yeah, yeah. So we gotta in this industrial complex, we gotta be ready. And we got to prepare, and all the signs is coming. Like same thing when Noah was building the ark, whether it's real or whether it's an analogy or whatever. When Noah was building the ark, everybody seen him building the ark. Nobody helped him. Everybody sat around, partied, chilled, continued with their day. Then when the flood finally happened, everybody wanted to get on the ark, and they couldn't get on. Y'all seen that man building that shit for like 6 months prior. The whole 6 months he was building that shit. None of y'all helped. So y'all see all these towns and stuff getting flooded, all these towns down south. Y'all see all these hurricanes. Y'all see these wars going on. Natural resources, countries is being robbed, and countries in Africa is overthrowing the European colonizers and sending them back to Europe. You know, you got basically a paradigm is coming. A paradigm is happening already as we speak. A lot of things is changing. The power of God is changing. Not God as in the one above all. The power of God meaning the people who's in position to make moves, right? A lot of changes is going on. And people, you got to be able to formulate your formulas. You got to be able to adapt and overcome. And you got to be able to transition with the transition. But I know one thing: white supremacy is crumbling. Everybody's tired of being bullied. Everybody's tired of being oppressed. You know, everybody's tired of everything. Yeah, you know, you the only one living off everybody's resources, France and Britain, and y'all the only ones rich and running around with diamond crowns and all that shit. Everybody's tired of that shit. China's tired of it. China dealt with colonization for a long time during the 1500s and all that, during the European conquest. China's tired of that shit. India's tired of that shit. Russia's tired of it. The whole Middle East is tired of it. Africa's tired of it. Niggas is tired of it. So when you keep bullying everybody and then everybody get together and jump the bully, it's a different ball game. And then usually the bully's a sore loser, right? So fuck around with these people. You know, they got underground cities and all that. Yeah, we know they gonna hide underground. Russia got underground cities too. Remember, they surrounded by the Himalaya mountains, the Caucasus mountains, whatever. You know, they got mountains. They got underground cities and all that too, right? Our leadership ain't going to help us. They're going to leave us to defend for ourselves while we above ground fighting and all that. They're going to be 15, 16, 20, 30 floors underground, watching everything through drones, camera, and satellite, like Resident Evil, like the movie Resident Evil. The niggas was underground inside that beehive, the pine cone or whatever they called it, and they was watching everything go down on land and on surface. Into the last man standing, to this whole ship is like a major reset. It's spooky to those who don't have faith and those who don't believe. But to those who have faith and believe, you know, like me, I embrace all calamities. I embrace all hardships, all ups and downs, all trials and tribulations, all struggles, all hardship, all pleasure, all good, all pain. I embrace anything destiny sends my way because it was written. It's in my book of life. Everybody has their own individual book of life. And you deal with how you deal with what you deal with when you deal with it. But me, I welcome everything. Because I'm going to rise to the occasion. You know what I'm saying? And when the parties start partying, I'm going to get the dancing. And I ain't talking about no jigaboo, step and fetch it, sucker shit. I'm talking about dancing. I'm going to put in pain. I'm going to move around and I'm going to make it happen. And my presence going to be known. You know what I'm saying? But people get ready. You know, if y'all got family down south, try to educate them. If they don't want to move and all that, then they're expendable too. You know, we ain't dealing with no anchors. We ain't dealing with no liabilities or nothing. The gods don't mingle with the mortals. Kings don't eat with the peasants. The only time wise men hang around fools is when they educate them on enslaving them. Stay up like a cup, holler back on my collar crack. We get up like sit-ups. Iron them, oxygen, uno.